Hello, Lindsay. How are you?
Doing great, Aubrey. How are you? How's it going?
Excellent. I am excited for part 2 of this series. I think you and I are on the same page, Lindsay, that teachers and technology, we need a blend of both in classrooms, right?
Sure.
But today we're brainstorming an essay that will look a little different from that, where we're sort of defending both sides of the issue in an argument essay.
Yeah, and the key point is we're brainstorming today, right? This is all about putting together an essay. In part 1, what did we cover? Part 1 of this series, Aubrey.
Yeah,
what did
part
we talk
1, we
about?
shared the vocabulary you need for this topic. It's a very common IELTS topic, right? Should technology replace traditional classroom instruction? So definitely stay to the end. You can listen to these out of order. We'll provide details so that you can, have all the vocabulary you need, and then also today see how to brainstorm this topic and write the essay.
And brainstorming for writing is a huge part of our system in the 3 Keys IELTS course, right? It is one part of our 3-step system for writing. We have a 3-step system for every part of the test and every question type. Guys, to get into that course, go over to allearsenglish.com/KEYS if you feel you need a more step-by-step approach, right, Aubrey?
Absolutely, right? To have it be structured, systematized is so helpful, has helped so many of our students get the scores they need on IELTS. And yes, we're going to walk through a brainstorm here, because if you just free write your essay, it's going to be less organized. It's harder to get the vocabulary in. You might change your mind on ideas as you write. So if you have a plan ahead of time, you brainstorm the ideas you want, the examples you'll use, and then stick to it, that's how you have time to write this essay in the 40 minutes, which goes very fast.
All right, so let's do a brainstorm. So again, the topic here is, to what extent do you think technology should be used to replace traditional classroom teaching? All right.
Yeah. So this brainstorm will look a little different than yours on test day. We're going to talk through sort of the possible ideas that could be used, some of them. There are so many possibilities here. When you are brainstorming, you will come up with one of these ideas. And as long as it's a good one that you can support and you can come up with an example and some supporting details, you're going to choose that one and stick to it.
Okay, got it. So some of the ideas, one idea, Aubrey, here that I have is personalized learning. We could talk about personalized learning and talk about adaptive learning platforms and how they adjust to student pace and level. Right?
Yes, exactly. Or access to resources. So when it comes to the benefits of technology, online libraries, videos, interactive tools, simulations, all of this has really improved education in a way that we didn't really have access to when we were very young.
It's true. And then engagement, because if we're not engaged, we're not learning, right? So now with technology, we can have gamification, interactive quizzes, we can have multimedia, videos. It just makes it more interesting, which is necessary for adults and kids. Right?
Exactly, right? And then efficiency, automated grading, instant feedback, tracking progress. All of this is so useful in online courses or with technology systems. That's very difficult and time consuming for teachers. It might take you quite a bit longer to get feedback on your assessments from a teacher.
Got it. So these are some good options. So Aubrey, what are we going to go with? Which idea are we going to go with?
We're going to choose this idea of the flexibility and accessibility of online platforms that students can learn from anywhere, anytime. So we're doing an argument essay where we'll use that idea and support it in one of our body paragraphs. And then we're going to brainstorm the other side of the issue.
Okay. All right. Where do we go from here then?
All right. So the other side is the advantages of traditional classroom teaching.
Okay.
What would be a possible idea here, Lindsay?
So in our little brainstorm here, one thing we could do is we could talk about reduced teacher guidance. So it's difficult for teachers to monitor understanding of students and provide that personalized support when you're using technology. Right?
Exactly, right? And then distractions. Students might be multitasking or getting distracted online. I don't know about you, Lindsay, but when I've taken online courses, this definitely happens, right? You have Google right there, or YouTube videos. It's very easy to get distracted.
It's horrible. Or even sometimes I'll attend my meditation group online and it's a bad idea because, New York Times is right there. So meditation, New York Times.
Exactly. Right.
Even no matter how dedicated you are. Right.
Exactly. No matter how good of a student you are, there's just so much that could distract you. Right.
Yep.
And then also, the hands-on experience of traditional classrooms is not replicated nearly as easily with technology, right? So lab work, arts, sports, real life practice, all of this is hard to replicate digitally.
Exactly. It's like the full body experience, the full human experience of learning is so much more than just facts and skills. It's presence. It's being physically present in a place. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And then lastly is the idea that we would choose. What is that, Lindsay?
We're going to go with this idea, social interaction. Right? Oh my gosh, we need this so badly right now.
Absolutely.
So teachers and peers provide opportunities to build social skills. And when we just use technology, we can lose that. And if we lose that, we're going to a not so good place, I think.
Exactly. So now we've chosen our two ideas. Your brainstorm will look different from this. You're not going to think through all the possible ideas.
Yeah.
You're going to think of one, pick it, make sure you can come up with an example. So for ours about, online platforms and how flexible and accessible that is, our example could be online courses like Coursera or Khan Academy. And then for our other paragraph, we're choosing this idea of social interaction. We can use a study, and you could make this up, a study by the National Institute of Health, for example. This is partially true, partially made up, was that 88% of respondents reported feeling less socially connected to peers during online classes. So those stats are actually correct, but I couldn't find who had published the study. So I'm making up this National Institute of Health. That works. The examiner doesn't care.
Yeah. And I want to say it might feel very unnatural just making up a study, especially if you work in the sciences where you would never imagine, never do anything like that, right? It's unimaginable.
Or if you've written academic papers where you had to provide accurate statistics.
Yes. Or if you come from an educational culture where it doesn't encourage just coming up with ideas, right? It's more of a rote memorization scenario that you're used to. So I think it's key to practice this in your practice essays. I mean, it comes down to practice. So the first time you make up a study or a story or an example should not be on the test. I think that theme is coming up.
Yes, that's a good point, because it does need to be believable, right? Yes. And you need to be able to write it correctly, use correct grammar. You don't have to do this. Think of all the other things we could use as an example here. You could use someone in your life who maybe because they're only taking online classes, they have social anxiety. They don't have a lot of friends. They're having a hard time meeting people. That would also work. Yeah. Or the other side, someone who has traditional education where they were able to interact socially and have lots of friends and they had an amazing time. All of that would also be great examples.
That would be so more of an anecdotal example instead of a study, right, Aubrey, is what you're saying?
Totally, both work as long as you are providing examples and details to support your idea.
Okay, love it. Okay, Aubrey, let's dig into the essay itself. So now we're going to actually read the essay that we wrote, right? And show our listeners how these examples were incorporated, what vocabulary was used, and what linking words were used. Okay?
Yes. Do you want to read the introduction for us? And then we'll go over it a bit and point out this impressive vocabulary, the ideas, the linking phrases.
Here we go. The rapid advancement of technology has transformed many aspects of modern life, including education. While some advocate for replacing traditional classroom teaching with technology, I believe that online learning should complement rather than completely replace face-to-face methods. In the following essay, I will explore both perspectives and proffer justification for my opinion. Now that's a fun word.
So much good vocabulary here. Yes, that's actually a template right out of 3 Keys IELTS to use that for your thesis. And it is full of Band 9 vocabulary. Templates like this are so smart to use where you need a thesis. Have some ready with this Band 9 vocabulary that you can just plug ideas into.
It's just so much easier when you have a template, right? Because you're not dealing with a white space, blank white canvas. Then you're just plugging, like you said, plugging in your ideas.
Absolutely. Okay? It really saves time. It's huge. So let's go over this. First of all, you see the way your introduction should be organized. This first sentence is just restating the topic. Don't write it word for word. Paraphrase, right? Change the wording. And then you have your opinion, right? You're saying, well, some people believe this. I think that, and share your opinion here very clearly. First person, ideally for IELTS essays, we want your opinion to be very clear.
Yes, love it. So we've done a good job of that. Do we want to go through vocab now or later, Aubrey?
Yeah, now for each paragraph we'll share. So we have, I believe, that online learning, which is a great synonym for technology, right?
Yep.
And then we have a phrase we taught in the last episode, complement rather than completely replace. So you are saying your opinion here is that technology should not totally replace traditional education.
And again, we have to highlight this amazing vocabulary from the template, right? It's not from the topic, but it's from the template. Proffer justification. I will explore both perspectives and proffer justification. And we have many more templates inside the course like this one, but this would score you quite high. I mean, that is
it's full of Band 9 vocabulary.
Guaranteed that is not a word the examiner is going to read in any of their essays that day, unless there's another 3 key student, of course.
And which would be fine. They might be like, ooh, impressive. Whoever taught them this, template, I love it. And they're giving you high scoring vocabulary marks.
Yeah.
So yes, this is, you want a thesis statement, right? You want to say something like this: in the following essay, I will, and what are you going to do, right? So in this case, it's an argument essay. We're going to explore both perspectives, explore both sides of the issue, and justify our own opinion, right? Proffer justification just means provide reasons for my opinion.
All right. This opens us up for the second paragraph. Aubrey, do you want to read it?
Yes. All right. This is the paragraph where we're talking about the benefits of technology, right? And then in the next one, we'll share our own opinion. All right.
Okay.
Regarding the educational benefits of technology, it is undeniable that they are numerous. Online platforms and digital tools allow students to access materials from anywhere at any time, providing flexibility that traditional classrooms cannot match. As a shining example, Khan Academy and Coursera enable students to learn at their own pace, revisiting difficult concepts as needed. So you see the idea we came up with in our brainstorm, right? That these digital tools, online platforms, provide this flexibility, allowing students to access materials anytime they want, anywhere in the middle of the night.
Yeah, exactly. And it says providing flexibility that traditional classrooms can't match. I like that phrasing, cannot match.
Yes, and that's impressive, right? Cannot match.
Impressive.
This is uncommon phrasing, so very good. And then this linking phrase, as a shining example, is so much higher scoring than just for example or for instance, right? Your linking phrases can also be higher scoring vocabulary.
And think about how small of a pivot that is to go from, for example, which is boring band 6, to as a shining example, which is at least band 7 or higher, right, Aubrey?
Exactly.
If not band 9. Yeah.
Exactly. Right.
Good. Okay, here's the next paragraph. So turning to the advantages of in-person learning, I believe teachers and classmates provide essential social interaction, enabling students to develop communication, teamwork, and interpersonal skills. Instructors can offer immediate guidance, clarify misunderstandings, and adapt lessons to the needs of the group. Additionally, peers provide opportunities to develop social skills. As an illustration, in a recent study by the National Institute of Health, 88% of respondents reported feeling less socially connected to peers during online classes. Wow.
Ooh, it's a very impressive paragraph. And note the presence of your opinion again. Your opinion must be clear and consistent throughout the essay. So here we have turning to the advantages of in-person learning, very high scoring linking phrase to start. And then your opinion, very clear. I believe teachers and classmates provide essential social interaction, comma, enabling students. So you see we have a complex sentence here.
Oh yeah, very
right?
complex.
Your grammar score requires you to have a variety of grammar structures, but if you have simple, compound, complex, that satisfies that need.
Yeah. It's not a grammar episode today, but we just want to mention that that's really important. There are certain grammar requirements, right, when it comes to IELTS. Okay. And then we said instructors can offer immediate guidance. So the word instructors instead of teachers, which is what we brainstormed, right, in part 1 of the series. Okay.
Exactly. And then clarify misunderstandings, adapt lessons. So we're sharing that it's about social interaction from teachers and how much that helps to have a real person doing these things. And then we have additionally peers provide opportunities to develop social skills. And then a very impressive statistic that, 88% of respondents, that's another good way to replace students or, some vocabulary that might be repetitive. You can use this noun respondents for anyone who has responded to a survey, for example.
Yeah. And how did we open up that fake study example, Aubrey? What's the phrase we used?
Yeah, as an illustration, comma,
Yeah.
right? This is a great linking phrase. As an illustration in a recent study by the National Institute of Health, right? So you definitely also need a linking phrase to introduce your examples.
Mm-hmm. Again, a very easy pivot. Instead of saying, for example, which is boring, as an illustration, another good option. Okay, good.
Exactly. All right, let's go through the conclusion here quickly, which is in sum, while technology has the potential to enhance education significantly, it should not replace classroom instruction. By integrating digital tools, schools can provide a more engaging, flexible, and effective experience while preserving the critical benefits of face-to-face instruction.
Nice. Okay. All right. So we're summing it up here. So we start with in sum, also kind of a unique way to say, in conclusion. I think it's more interesting personally.
Exactly. And just more rare. Anything that's less common is going to be higher scoring, right? So more than in conclusion or even in summary, in sum is less common.
Yep. And then we said it should, while technology has the potential to enhance education significantly, it should not replace classroom instruction. So we're making it very clear what our perspective is here.
Exactly, right? We're again restating our opinion in the conclusion so that it is clear and consistent throughout the essay. And you want to check back as you're writing, as you're proofreading your essay, double check. Is my opinion clear? Is it staying the same? Has it changed at all? That's very important for your task response score.
Yes. Then we finish by saying, by integrating digital tools, schools can provide a more engaging, flexible, effective experience while preserving the critical benefits of face-to-face instruction. Another way of saying classroom instruction, teacher instruction. So we're still deploying those vocabulary alternatives from speaking part 1, Aubrey.
Exactly, right? We shared in the first part of this series, and we're going to share now how you can go get that, because this is important that you have all of that vocabulary and then that you're able to use that as you write this essay. So scroll up if you missed it. It was 1575, Teachers versus Technology on IELTS Part 1, Vocabulary and Ideas. And now with all of that vocabulary and this brainstorm, you can write a Band 9 essay for this Task 2 question.
Love it. Any final thought on today's episode, Aubrey, about writing and brainstorming?
Yes, well, this is just such a common topic, like you were saying, Lindsay, because people are talking about it. We're interested in this right now. So you need to be ready with high-scoring vocabulary and ideas, ready to answer speaking part 3 questions, and write about this on Task 2.
All right. Sounds great. Really good stuff. Aubrey, I'll see you back here on the show very soon. Guys, hit the follow button so you don't miss any future series that we're going to be covering on the show. All right.
Awesome. Yes.
Okay. Good. Talk to you soon. Bye.
See you next time. Bye.